Thank you, Ivan, and good morning, everyone. This is a tricky room because I like to be able to look at people, but I have to kind of do this a little bit while I'm doing so as well and get my speech right at the same time, so bear with me, please. It's genuinely an honour to join you all today at the Wheel's annual summit, particularly as the Wheel marks its 25th anniversary. And as we reflect on the incredible journey that this organisation has undertaken over the past quarter of a century, we are reminded of the transformative power that comes from unity and from collaboration. The Wheel's 2,300 plus members reflect the very diverse landscape of our sector, and as we gather here today, it's important to reflect on the true breadth and the scope and indeed the importance of the sector's work. Through initiatives focused on empowerment, on advocacy and support, the Wheel has been to the forefront in supporting the community and voluntary sector in Ireland to thrive. This summit offers us all who seek to promote the work of the community and voluntary sector further valuable opportunities to engage on how we can continue to work together to progress the values and principles that we hold dear. The range of topics forming the basis of today's conversations reminds me of the extent of the work carried out by the sector, but also the challenges you face and work to overcome. And I have to say, each of the 12 parallel sessions kind of piques my interest for different reasons, and I'm not sure what the process was in selecting which one you go to, but I think I would find it difficult as to which one to go to today. I suspect you might have people floating in and out of a couple of different ones. One particularly caught my eye, though. I was especially interested to read about the session on civil society vision for the next government. But I do hope going forward there are at least some aspects of what we've been doing that are part of that future vision. And I'll mention a couple of them. But I won't tire of doing this, and I think this is probably one of the most important ones. And I think you've probably been at 4 or 5 events where I've held this up and touted its importance. This is the values and principles document that all government departments have signed up to and have agreed to, I suppose, bring into their engagements with the community and voluntary sector. I keep reminding people of this. This is the basis that government has agreed to engage with you as members of the community and voluntary sector. And I see Nolene here, and Nolene was involved in a unique visit that I had the privilege of being a part of in February, where I represented the Irish government in Geneva when we answered to our commitments under the International Convention on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. And I made a point of actually holding this up at the UN as well in terms of how we aspire to do things in Ireland in terms of our engagement with the community and voluntary sector. And I do think it is a model of good practice, but it only means something if we use it, and it only means something if we bring it into meetings, and it only means something if we bring it into our engagements with government departments as well. So just to remind people of that, and I hope it's part of the vision going forward. One of the other key things that I think will help to guide the sector and the relationship going forward is the Civic Forum. So last November we held the 2nd annual National Civic Forum for formal dialogue between government and the community and voluntary sector. We had 130 delegates, not quite as big as today, and we came together in the spirit of collaboration and heard examples of how the values and principles for collaboration and partnership working have been used in practice. We heard joint presentations on policy co-design and inclusive engagement at local level, and we engaged in discussions around the challenges, opportunities and recommendations for improvement. And I'm delighted to confirm that my department is currently making plans for this year's Civic Forum, which will be held in Dublin Castle on the 4th of September, and I look forward to continued positive and constructive engagement with you at that event. What I do hope will also have a lasting positive impact on the sector will be the current Charities Amendment Bill. The bill represents a key milestone on delivering on a programme for government commitment to further build trust and confidence in the management and administration of charities. And throughout this legislative process, my officials and I have actively engaged with the sector to listen and take on board the observations of a wide number of stakeholders. And those who are following the process will know that we have made amendments at different stages and at different times to the bill as well. I'm very happy to say that human rights will be recognised as a charitable purpose in the new bill when we get it enacted as well. And these amendments that we've taken on board from suggestions from the sector, I think will further strengthen our valued charity sector, ensuring greater transparency, clarity and fairness, which will serve to enhance public confidence and trust in the sector itself. The bill also aims to avoid situations where charities and their volunteers who give up their valuable time to do good for our communities are not unnecessarily overburdened with administration, and in many cases the bill will ease the administrative burden on smaller charities. So I'm pleased to confirm that the bill recently passed third stage of the process this day last week, and we'll now proceed to fourth stage, hopefully next month in June. Those of you who will have heard a speech or two from me before will know that I will often take the opportunity to champion and acknowledge a particular programme that I have responsibility for. That's the Social Inclusion and Community Activation Programme, and I'm going to do it briefly again today, the SICAP programme. I think the responsiveness of SICAP and its workers across the country at a community level continues to be extraordinary. It's a programme that very directly helps government tackle and has helped government tackle numerous crises over the last 4 years. And I see Larry O'Connell here. We last met in person when we were involved in the process of negotiating the programme for government. And since then, since those last 4 years, there's been a lot of extraordinary things happen. But SICAP has helped us as government and as a society to work through those issues. And the wider sector has as well, I think, in many ways. So I'm glad to say that as of this past Monday, contracts for the delivery of the SICAP 24 to 28 period have been signed in all 53 areas, and I look forward to formally launching the programme in the very near future. The design of this new iteration of SICAP was heavily informed by the SICAP review, which the Wheel, of course, gave your own input into, and I think you'll agree that the views of your members and other relevant stakeholders have been reflected in the programme requirements. I do want to touch briefly on the challenges that the state has faced over the last 12 months in meeting its obligations towards international protection applicants. Obviously, the community and voluntary sector is made up of a wide variety of groups in terms of size, in terms of reach, budget, structure, issues. Some groups, just a couple of volunteers, some large service providers here in the room today that have contracts with government. But I just want to be categorical in terms of all the community and voluntary sector, and I want to give my thanks and my acknowledgement to the role that the sector has played, firstly in helping the state to fulfil its obligations to protection applicants in different ways, but also on those occasions where we have not been able to fulfil these obligations, the sector has helped us to ease the suffering of those whose rights we have not been able to provide for, and I just want to formally acknowledge that today. In some respects, my job is very straightforward, as I know the value of what you do, so I do try my best to support you to do your work. So I'm glad to say that in this speech, and confirm in this speech, that I have been able to double the grants under the International Protection Integration Fund this year to €2.5 million. This is the fourth set of migrant integration supports I've announced this year, and so today I'll just use this speech to announce that 56 projects across Ireland will be getting grants under the fund. Some are in attendance today. I'm not going to read through all 56 of them, but it would be good to have a chat with you afterwards if you have a few minutes. I do want to flag a couple of other related developments on the horizon. I'm at advanced stages of developing a nationwide project that is aimed at healing some of the division that has arisen in communities in the past 12 months, but also aimed at preparing those communities to better withstand and better respond to misinformation and prejudice. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about this in June, but I just thought I'd flag it initially for now. The other development I want to flag relates to my responsibilities in one of my other government departments for the National Action Plan Against Racism. And next month, there's a lot happening next month, I will be announcing the appointment of the first ever Special Rapporteur on Racism for Ireland. The Rapporteur will be supported by an expert advisory group, which will also be announced next month. A couple of other points I'd like to touch on briefly before wrapping up, and I think one of the big ones really is that since last year's summit, I launched Ireland's first national philanthropy policy, and I see a few people in the crowd who were very key in developing that process, and we have started moving to that implementation process as well. Ireland has huge untapped potential in the area of philanthropy that I think will be even more crucial going forward to help the sector to take risk, to innovate, and to try something different, but also I think especially in the Irish context, to help the sector maintain an independent voice and to be constructively critical of government going forward. I do also want to acknowledge the ever-expanding and strengthening PPN network nationally. Following the review exercise we conducted, we are getting closer to finalising the implementation plan, the action plan, which we hope to have ready soon. But I want to finish with an acknowledgement of one of the largest subsets of the community and voluntary sector nationally that strangely in many ways gets very little national recognition, but is and has been changing lives in every corner of the country for 30 years now. 2024 marks 30 years since the establishment of community employment schemes, and I hope to carry out a national exercise after the summer to publicly recognise the huge contributions CE schemes have made to organisations in the community and voluntary sector, to communities, but especially how it has helped so many thousands of people over the years to transform their life paths. So I just wanted to give a shout out to CE. It doesn't get a shout out nationally very often, but this is the start of a process that will build up this year as well. But today is about the Wheels anniversary, and as we celebrate this milestone, we must look ahead to the challenges that lie before us. In a world that's constantly evolving and changing, we must continue to adapt and to innovate in order to meet the needs of our communities. And we live in a world that is increasingly marked by challenges such as polarisation, the dangers of misinformation, rising levels of loneliness. So it is more important than ever for us to stand united in our commitment to build a more inclusive and empathetic society. Thank you, everyone, and here's to the next 25 years of the League.